Hello, welcome to chemistry class. Today's class I'm going to explain you about UV visible spectroscopy. UV visible spectroscopy, it is ultraviolet visible spectroscopy. The ultraviolet region is between 150 to 400 nanometers and the visible region is between 400 to 800 nanometers. So the electromagnetic radiation, which is the light is divided to five regions. Under this, one of the region is ultraviolet region. In ultraviolet region, the molecules which are having pi and n electrons generally absorb these radiations. Now, first coming to the principle of the UV visible region. Before explaining the principle of the UV visible region, let me give you a brief introduction. So the electromagnetic radiation, as it is divided into five regions, so based on the nature of the radiation absorbed by the molecule, so we denote the spectra. So for ultraviolet region, you denote it as ultraviolet visible spectra. If it is infrared, you denote it as infrared spectra. For microwave, microwave spectra. For radio frequency, it is radio frequency spectra. So different types of radiations are absorbed by the molecules and they cause different radiations, different types of transitions in the molecule. So therefore the molecular spectra, it is name type depending on the transitions that are taking place in the absorption of the electromagnetic radiation. So in the electromagnetic, these transitions, they correspond to electronic transitions, vibrational rotational transitions, um, atomic nuclear spin transitions. So here UV visible spectra is the electronic spectra. So the energy here is more and the wavelength is less in the UV region. So the energy associated with the UV region is high and therefore the electronic transitions takes place. Whereas IR, the energy is less and the wavelength is increased. So vibrational and rotational transitions takes place in the molecules. Coming to the microwave, still the wavelength is increased and the energy is still decreased. So you can observe only the rotational spectra in microwave region. And coming to the last one, radio frequency, it is about 10,000 nanometers, more than 10,000 nanometers. So therefore, we can observe in these molecules, you can observe only the hydrogen nuclei, the nuclei absorption, nuclear spins we can observe. Energy is very, very less. Now coming to the electronic energy levels and energy levels of the electrons in the covalent molecules. See, after explaining this one, you can understand more better about the principle of UV visible spectra. So the interaction of the light, monochromatic light with respect to matter, and that is a spectroscopy. So one electron of the molecule in the ground state, it is promoted to higher energy level. Once the energy is absorbed, that takes place. And when molecule interacts with and absorbs with this electromagnetic radiation, that is UV, ultraviolet, or visible region, all the electrons are unaffected. The molecules containing the excited state electron is called excited state of the molecule, and that produced in very short time. 10 to the power of minus 15 seconds, the absorption of energy takes place. Hence, during electronic excitation, time of the atom molecules do not undergo any change in their positions. So, electronic transition involves promotion of electron from HOMO to LUMO, highest occupied molecular orbital to lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. In many molecules, several electronic transitions are observed, giving several absorption bands. So, giving several absorption bands, you can see the spectrum. So not in all transitions, not in all transitions, but from HOMO to LUMO, you can observe. So the symmetry relationship between these two type of orbitals, HOMO, LUMO, it is important in these transitions. Next, this second selection rule will see UV visible spectroscopy. It measures sample to ultraviolet and visible range. The response of a sample, the response of a sample from ultraviolet region to the visible region, visible range. So the molecules which are having n, pi or sigma electrons, these electrons absorb UV radiation and these undergo transitions from ground state to excited state. So UV visible spectroscopy, it is nothing but the spectra obtained by the response of the molecule to the UV region, UV range of the electromagnetic radiation. So molecules absorb ultraviolet UV visible range of electromagnetic radiation and they respond in the form of spectra. That is UV visible spectroscopy. And this is observed generally in molecules which are having n, pi, sigma electrons. So these electrons absorb UV radiation. They undergo transitions from ground state to excited state. Now, here again, the absorption spectra, how it's absorption of the UV radiation brings about promotion of electron from bonding to antibonding. As I've told you, the electronic transition involves promotion of the electrons from HOMO to LUMO, and here bonding to the antibonding orbital. The wavelength of the radiation is slowly changed from minimum to maximum in the given region, and the absorbance at every wavelength is recorded, and a plot of absorbed versus wavelength is called absorption spectra. So wavelength of the radiation is slowly changing from minimum to maximum in that region, and the absorbance at every wavelength is recorded, and a plot of energy is absorbed versus wavelength is plotted. So energy, what is observed and what is the wavelength. So that is being recorded. It is from minimum to the maximum wavelength. It is being recorded. That is absorption spectrum. And the significant features are the lambda max, maximum absorbance. At what wavelength is that? One particular molecule at particular wavelength, it is absorbed. So we are increasing here from minimum to maximum. We are increasing the wavelength. When absorbing is going on, absorbance. So minimum to maximum wavelength we are increasing. So at what wavelength is the maximum absorption? We record it. That is lambda max. So wavelength at which there is maximum absorption is lambda max. Now intensity of maximum absorption is Emax. So the UV spectrum, it depends on the solvent's concentration of the solution. So there are many factors involving the relative energy of the molecular orbitals. The electronic transition generally involve promotion of the electron in the bonding orbitals, sigma or pi electrons, or non-bonding electrons, that is n electrons. From there to the next higher energy level, that is anti-bonding pi star or sigma star orbitals. So electronic transitions involves promotion of electrons in the bonding orbitals, that is sigma or pi electrons, and non-bonding orbitals, that is n electrons. 2. Next higher energy level anti-bonding orbitals, pi star or sigma star. So the asterisk here you'll be having for anti-orbiting, you'll be having asterisk. We'll see in the later slide. So electronic levels of the bonding, non-bonding, anti-bonding electrons can be represented in a picture. So first, I've told you absorbance versus wavelength. Absorbance versus wavelength. So I'm increasing the wavelength. And what is the absorbance? It is recorded on y-axis. The wavelength is increased. How is the absorbance? At one stage, there is maximum absorbance. And still you increase the wavelength, it decreases. Only at one particular point, there is maximum absorbance. That is lambda max. Maximum absorbance at this particular wavelength. That is lambda max. Now, I have told you the electronic levels of the bonding, non-bonding, and anti-bonding can be represented pictorially. Here, energy is on. Coordinate. Here, the atomic orbitals. This is also atomic orbitals. These two atoms on combination, you get molecule, and these are the molecular orbitals. Atom orbital combined to give molecular orbital. Same number, different energies. So here, the sigma, pi, n, pi star, sigma star. These two are bonding molecular orbitals. Occupy. And these two are anti-bonding molecular orbitals. It is indicated by asterisk mark. Anti-bonding is indicated by asterisk. And this n is non-bonding orbital. Non-bonding orbital and n electrons will be there. Non-bonding electrons will be there. Okay, so energy, coming to the energy, sigma is having less energy. Pi is having increased energy compared to the sigma. And this is having energy same to that of atomic orbitals. And pi star is having still more energy. Coming to the sigma, sigma star, that is the anti-bonding, and it's having highest energy. Now, what are the different types of transitions? We'll see. What are the different types of excitations that are taking place in the molecules? Examples for these molecules we'll see. The possible transitions are sigma, sigma star transition. Yeah, sigma to sigma star transition. The next one is pi to pi star transition. Pi to pi star transition. The third one is n to sigma star transition. One is n to pi star transition. N to pi star transition. Okay, so these are the different types of transitions. Sigma to sigma star, n to sigma star, pi to pi star, n to pi star transitions. I'm going to explain you in detail about these transitions. The electronic transition that occurs from low energy. The electronic transition that occurs from low energy bonding sigma orbital. This is having low energy. It is having low energy orbital to high energy orbital anti-bonding sigma star. That transition is called sigma star transition. And this is observed in the molecules where there are sigma electrons. So generally in alkanes, this type of transition is possible. This type of transition is possible. These transitions require high energy. Sigma to sigma star, they require high energy. Sigma to sigma star, they require high energy. Here you can see the energy coordinate. Here these require more energy, so it is observed in the alkenes which are having sigma electrons. So ultraviolet region at 150 nanometers, this radiation is possible. 150 nanometers, it is possible. 150 means less wavelength, high energy. This is known as the vacuum ultraviolet region, and it is below 200. And in the oxygen, O2 present in the air begins to absorb. So generally in the oxygen molecules, you'll have sigma to sigma star transition. It is a high energy transition. So this high energy transition, it begins to absorb, you can see, at low wavelength. Now, coming to the next one, pi star transition. Pi star transition. Here, pi to pi star transition. So pi to pi star transitions, these transitions occur in unsaturated molecules. So generally pi electrons are observed in unsaturated compounds. So the compounds containing double bonds will have pi electrons. They contain the pi electrons, and it is observed in alkenes, aromatics, carbonyl compounds. And this type of transitions are observed in the alkenes, aromatic, carbonyl compounds, and so on. So whatever compounds are having double bonds, this type of transitions, pi to pi star transitions, are observed. So in conjugated pi bonded system also, you can see in the conjugated pi bonding system also, we can observe pi to pi star transition. Next, in here 170 to 190 nanometers it takes place. So energy is a bit less compared to sigma star. So pi star is a bit less transition. It takes place at 170 to 190 nanometers. The absorption band, it corresponds to the conjugated systems. Here you can see K bands. Pi star, you can see K band, German. You can say this K band, conjugarity. So pi star, K bands are observed. Now, coming to the next one, N to sigma transition. So the compounds containing non-bonding electrons generally show this type of transition, N to sigma star. Here, N sigma star transition. The electronic transition occurs N to sigma star transition, N to sigma star transition. It occurs in the compounds where there are heteroatoms because these are having non-bonding electrons, lone pair of electrons in it. Example, trimethylamine. See, on the amine nitrogen, you're having non-bonding electrons. They observe, you can see in these type of molecules, N to sigma star transition. Even in the methanol, you're having oxygen. Oxygen is having two lone pair of electrons. So there also you can observe two lone pair of electrons on the oxygen. Therefore, here you can see N to sigma star transition. These are having single bonded. All of them are the sigma electrons and non-bonding electrons. Coming to the methyl chloride, N to sigma star you can see. So here the transition is from 227 and 184 nanometers and 173 nanometers. molecules. So these are sensitive to the hydrogen bond. Okay, so the transitions are 227. The transitions are 227, 184, and 173. You can see. So wavelength is increased, energy is a bit decreased in this transition. Coming to the next one, N to pi star, very less energy. N to pi star, wavelength will increase, energy is very less. And where can you see these transitions? These transitions observed N to pi star in the compounds containing heteroatoms and even the non-bonding electrons, lone pair of electrons. So transition of the lone pair electrons, non-bonding electrons occurs in the heteroatom, So N to pi star orbital. This transition occurs at 280 nanometers. So the absorption band corresponds to this transition. Here you can see R band. See, only in pi you are able to see pi star, K band we can see. N to pi star you can see R band. Here the energy required is very less. So radically R means the absorption band characterizes two aromatic, heteroaromatic compounds. So aromatic and heteroaromatic compounds. You can see the B bands. So you can see R band, B bands. So R and B bands are observed in N pi star. K band is observed in pi to pi star. Now let us see the energy, how it is there. Here, I've told you different types of excitations. These excitations sigma to sigma star in alkanes. Bonding to the anti-bonding, high energy is required, very low wavelength is required here. It is at 150 nanometers and the energy is high. In the alkanes, we can observe. So the free oxygen generally have pi sigma star transition. And coming to the N to the sigma star, N to the sigma star. This transition you can see in the heteroatomic molecules. And these are having lone pair of electrons and they're having sigma electrons. So amines you can take, alcohols, alkyl halides you can see N to sigma star. Now the next transition is pi to pi star, as I've told you, in alkenes, aromatic compounds. So the wavelength is still increased, energy is decreased. Here you can see 170 to 190 nanometers, K bands are observed here. And N to pi star, very less energy, high wavelength, and here R bands are observed. In pi star, K band, here R band and B bands are observed. So generally, in the heteroaromatic compounds and the aromatics, you can observe this. Now the energy order, if you see, energy order, sigma star is having high energy, low wavelength. Then pi star, wavelength increased, energy decreased. Then comes the N to the sigma star, more energy, less wavelength. And coming to the N to sigma star, it has the least one, which is having less energy and more wavelength. So what is the selection rule here? The selection rule, as I've told you, the selection rule for the ultraviolet region is all molecules having N sigma pi electrons absorb the UV radiations, and the electronic transitions will occur for this radiations. Now, if molecule, rather, in order to calculate theoretical energies of the molecules is HOMO, LUMO, the symmetry, everything is required. So quantum mechanical interpretation is also important for this electronic transition. So whether an electronic transition between two molecular orbitals is allowed or forbidden, how can we know? The geometry of the ground state of the molecular orbital, geometry of the excited state of the MO, orientation of the dipoles, and the change in spin, singlet or triplet state, N to pi star forbidden. All these govern the transitions. Now, types of transitions. Now we'll see what are the allowed transitions, what is a chromophore, what is an oxochrome, What is a blue shift? We'll see in brief. N to sigma star, I have told you how these transitions are occurring. And what are the allowed transitions? The transitions with the values of extinction coefficient more than 10 to the power of 4 are allowed. Values, that molar extinction coefficient values, it is more than 10 to the power of 4, then they are the allowed transitions. They generally arise due to the pi star transitions. So these are the allowed transitions. In 1,3-butadiene, it is 21,000. So it is an allowed transition. And what are forbidden transitions? Coming to the forbidden transitions, the transitions that result the excitation of the one electron from lone pair present in the heteroatom to the anti-bonding pi star orbital. That is a forbidden in carbonyl compounds. If molar extinction coefficient value is 10 to the power of 4. So this is a forbidden transition. Now, what are chromophores? Chromophore. So methyl bond methyl, electronic transition sigma sigma star, and 150. And for methane sigma sigma star, oxygen N to sigma star 184. So these are all chromophores. What is a chromophore? Chromophore, it is applied to the system which imparts color to the compound. Chromophore. Color carriers are called chromophores. The color carriers are called as chromophores. So the term chromophore, it is applied to the system. It is responsible for imparting color to the compound. So chromophores means color carriers. Example azodine, you can take aryl conjugated system, azo group. All these are the chromophores. Nitro compounds, you get yellow color. It is due to bond NO2 group. So NO2 group is chromophore. So the functional group that absorbs electromagnetic radiation is termed as chromophore. Any functional group which absorbs electromagnetic radiation is called chromophore. So carbonyl group is considered as a chromophore in UV region, IR region. And the word chromophore, it is used to describe the system containing the electrons, which is responsible for absorption of EMR. C double bond C at the lambda max is 175. C triple bond C, lambda max is 175, 195, 223. C double bond O, lambda max is 160, 185, 280. Or NO2, lambda max, this chromophore is all these are all chromophores. I'm giving you examples. Later we'll see what is bathochromic shift and hypsochromic shift. First, we should have some examples of the chromophore. So C triple bond N, the lambda max is 165, cyanides. And butadiene, alternate double bonds you're having. So here the lambda max is 270. Next, C double bond C, single bond C, double bond O, 220 nanometers and 350. For benzene, it is, you can see different lambda maxes, 220, 230, 184, 204, 255. Okay, so an isolated one, pi star 190, you can see. So these are the different types of chromophores and different lambda maxes, and these impart absorption. So how there is no rule to procedure to identify a chromophore. Conjugated chromophores such as dienes, unsaturated ketones, all these you can see. Now, what is a bathochromic shift? So chromophore, a group which absorbs EMR and which imparts color to the compound, is chromophore. Now, what is bathochromic shift? Bathochromic shift is otherwise called as a red shift. A shift of lambda max, the shift of lambda max towards longer wavelength. Shift of lambda max, maximum absorption of wavelength, towards longer wavelength is called, this is called redshift or bathochromic shift. Here you can see low energy. Longer is the wavelength, lesser is the energy. So a shift of the absorption of the wavelength to longer wavelength is called bathochromic shift. This is also called as a red shift. So this is here in the shift, there is less energy absorption. Okay. And what is hypsochromic shift? What is hypsochromic shift? That is the blue shift. The shift of lambda max to shorter wavelength is called hypsochromic shift. The shift of lambda max towards high energy region is called hypsochromic shift or blue shift. So this effect that and this effect you can see hyperchromic effect and hypochromic effect. So the effect that is leading to decreased absorption intensity. If there is a decreased absorption intensity, it is hypo. If there is increased absorption intensity, then that is hyperchromic shift. So if there is increased intensity of the light, the effect that is leading to increased absorption intensity, then that is hyperchromic shift. And if there is decrease in the absorption intensity, that is hypochromic shift. Here you can see the absorbance and lambda. Absorbance and lambda. On y-axis, you're having the absorbance, and the x-coordinate, you're having the wavelength. See a molecule, once it's very clearly observed, the lambda max, if it is high, the hyperchromic effect. See here, the absorption towards a lower wavelength region is hypsochromic effect, and the lambda max towards the higher wavelength is called bathochromic shift. So bathochromic shift is called as the red shift. This bathochromic shift is called as the red shift. And this bathochromic effect, the lambda max is moving towards the higher wavelength region and low energy region. Hypsochromic shift is the blue shift. The lambda max is shifting towards the lower wavelength, and here the energy is very high. This is hypsochromic shift. And coming to the hyper and hypochromic shift, if the intensity of absorption is decreasing, that is the effect that is leading to decreased intensity, that is hypochromic. If the intensity is towards increased absorption intensity, that is hyperchromic effect. So this is the terminology of the shifts in the position of the absorption band. Now we'll see what is the effect of conjugation. You can see chromophore, C double bond C. Excitation is C double bond C. Excitation is pi star. The lambda max is 171 nanometers. And the solvent is hexane. Now for the carbonyl group, C double bond group, the excitation is N to pi star and pi to pi star excitation. Here the lambda max is 290 and 180. The solvent is the same, hexane. Coming to the N double bond O, it is having N to pi star and pi to pi star excitation. The lambda max is 275 and 200 nanometers. And the solvent that we are using is ethanol and ethanol. The solvent that you are using is ethanol. Now coming to the alkyl halide. So you can take bromide or the iodine. Here the excitation is N to sigma star and N to sigma star. The lambda max is 205 And here the lambda max is 255. The solvents that we are using is hexane. The solvents what we are using is hexane. Still, for amines, you can take N to sigma star. For sulfur groups, N to pi star. And for oxygen, N to sigma star. Okay, so the non-bonding electrons are there and single bonds are there. So N to sigma star. So for these chromo groups. And for methyl group, ethyl group, you have sigma to sigma star excitation. It is at 150 nanometers, 185 and 195 nanometers. Instrumentation part, if you see, visible spectra, the construction of the traditional UV visible spectrometer, it is almost similar to that of IR and it has similar functioning. Sample handling, IR, radiation detection, output required. It's all the same. Here it is a simple schematic diagram of the modern UV spectrometer. Here you're getting this bulb. You can see this is an ordinary light. And when it passes through the splitter and monochromator, you get a monochromatic light. Again, splitting fibers are there. And here, whatever after passing through this monochromatic radiation, it is getting splitted here, splittering optics. And one radiation, this is a double beam spectrum. This is a double beam spectrometer, UV visible spectrometer. Ordinary lights comes and goes into the monochromatic light. And this monochromatic light, whatever is coming, using the beam splitter, it is getting splitted up. And after getting the beam splitting, this incident radiations, you can see two ways going. The monochromatic incident radiations, one is going to the reference and the other one is going to the sample. Simultaneously, these two are recorded. So coming from the reference I naught and the other one, it is coming through the sample, that is I. And the detector is detecting both with respect to sample and the reference. And whatever it's detected, you're getting the output. And this output is recorded as the spectrum. See, x coordinate you're having the wavelength and y coordinate you're having log of I0 by I. I0 is with respect here. I0 is with respect to the reference and I is with respect to the sample. So that after getting absorbed, the whatever this incident radiation, after getting incident, here transmitted light you're getting. So one is coming up from the reference, the other one is coming from the sample. And the ratio of these two is taken as the log of I0 by I. And this gives the absorbance with respect to the sample and the reference. And this is the instrumentation of the UV visible spectrum. So sample, here you can see only with respect to sample. Here this is single beam. IR time is required to cover the entire UV visible due to the mechanism of changing wavelengths. And the improvement is diode array spectrophotometer. It breaks up a part and full spectrum is transmitted through the sample. Each individual band of UV is detected by individual diodes. So here there is size limitation of the diode. So there is some loss of resolution. So the previous one is more advisable one. The simple schematic, this now instrumentation of the spectrophotometer. See the second one, virtually UV spectra recorded. The cell it is made of plastic glass quartz. The quartz is transparent and full of 200 to 700 nanometers. Plastic or glass are the suitable for visible spectra, and concentration it is determined depending on the compound. That is the cuvette given for us. Now chromophores, I have given you functional group that imparts color, the functional group which absorbs the radiation, undergoes the transition and gives the color is chromophore. So the structural and the electronic changes in the chromophore can be quantified and you can predict the shift of the electronic transitions. And chromophores here, the substituent groups also N to pi star, which type of groups? And the attachment of the substituents can shift the energy of the radiation. The substituents that increase the intensity and often the wavelength of absorption is oxochrome. See, the wavelength is getting affected due to some other group, that is oxochrome. So oxochromes include alkyl group, hydroxyl group, alkoxy group, amino groups, halogen groups. All these groups, when attached substituents, they change the absorption of the chromophore. The group which influences the chromophore is oxochrome. Okay, so oxochrome, I think you have understood clearly about the oxochrome and the chromophore. Thank you for today's class. So today's class, what I've discussed is about the UV visible spectroscopy, the principle behind the spectra, UV visible spectra, the principle. So it is generally from 150 to UV visible spectra. It is under the region of 150 to 400 is ultraviolet, 400 to 800 is visible. Combined together, you get UV visible spectrum. Sample absorbs under this region, and the molecules which are having N, pi, sigma electrons will respond and give the absorption spectrum by undergoing transitions. See, absorption spectrum. This is absorption spectrum. Absorption lambda max is recorded like that. After that, they go undergo transitions. 4 types of transitions: sigma, sigma star, pi, pi star, N to pi star, N to sigma star transition. And yeah, these are the different types of transitions between the bonding molecular orbitals and non-bonding molecular orbitals. And what are the allowed transitions? What are the forbidden transitions? What are the terms involved in this UV visible spectrum? Chromophores, oxochrome, bathochromic shift, red or red shift, hypsochromic shift or blue shift, hyperchromic effect, hypochromic effect, and the chromophore and how the excitation, what type of excitation, what is the lambda max, and the solvent used. Instrumentation part. Instrumentation. The prediction one and the reset one what using. What is a cuvette? And what is a chromophore? What is an oxochrome? And what are the substituent groups? So the substituent groups are oxochromes. These substituent groups affect the chromophore in absorption of the electromagnetic radiation at UV visible region. And these are responsible for the electronic transitions. Thank you for today. I hope you have understood my class. If there is any doubt, please go through once again. Thank you all for sparing the time.